Howdy, folks, and welcome to another day in the Milky Way. And tonight we got a great show for you. We're going to be reading out of this book here. It is The Star Library. And we're going to, my adventures in the Rocky Mountains. The Rocky Mountain Life, actually, it's called. And we're going to start out here in chapter 4. If you haven't caught it, there's 3 other chapters we went through, and it's this guy and his experience. He's from the city, and he's going to catch a ride with the mountain men to go trapping and to get out there and see the wilderness. So he signs on, and he meets Indians. He crosses rivers. He's seeing the wildlife. The whole 9 yards, and he is describing this very well as he goes. Some of it's a little hard to read for me because he's using quite the words, but he, is telling you in a time framely order, day by day, his adventures. So I imagine he's taking notes as he goes. But this is a true story, and I am bringing it to you. Okay. September 26th. We are now camped upon a small creek near desolate of timber with 2 miles of Big Blue, within 2 miles of Big Blue, or the northwest branch of the Kansas River. The geography of this part of the country is incorrectly described upon all the published maps I have yet seen. So even though he's out there, there's no maps to really describe where he is really at. The Republican Fork, which is the principal branch of the Kansas, is uniformly represented as the most northwesterly branch of the river, forming a junction with it at or below the usual crossing. This is not the case. The 2 forks of the Blue and the Northwest united form a large and important stream, which, according to my impression, discharges its waters into the Kansas itself and not into the Republican. Of this, however, I am not quite positive. Big Blue must be a matter of course the most northwesterly branch of the Kansas River. Proceeding up the Blue, the geographical character of the country undergoes an entire and radical change, and the traveler is introduced to different order of things from the previously observed. Perhaps, therefore, it is not out of place to present a general review of the territory thus so far. So he's getting into this territory, and he is trying to see where he is at. And let's see if I can mount a picture of where he might be. Let's see, this might be what he would picture right there. Okay, present. And there we go. The interval from the frontier to the Missouri to Big Blue, a distance upwards of 200 miles, affords great uniformity in all its more prominent characteristics. It generally comprises beautifully undulating prairies of a most analogous soil, real good soil, rich in sedimentary deposits and vegetable matter. It is somewhat rocky in places, but well watered by the Arkansas River. The creeks, with but few exceptions, have heavily timbered with oak, hickory, walnut, maple, cottonwood, and other varieties found in more eastern forest. The hills, too, in some parts, are more than usually abundant in springs and covered with stately groves, as tastefully arranged as if planted by hand by man, with luxuriant grasses in meadows in every side by the woodlands, skirted with water courses, pleasant to the eye, proud oceans of flowery verdure, tossing their wavelets to the breeze, and perfuming the air with a breath of spring. And let's see if we can change the picture here. And that's probably what he was looking at. Something on that order. Wouldn't that be beautiful? Lots of flowers, trees of every kind, heading off into the mountains. He really describes this very well. And in colorful words, I should say. The streams are clear with rocky or pebbly bottoms and high, steep banks, abounding in choice specimens of finely tribes and varieties of treacherous order of a genus Muscula. The valley of the Kansas is wide of a deep brown vegetable mold, susceptible of high state of cultivation. So he's talking about the soil is really good. The whole country is well adapted to the double purpose of agriculture and the growth of stock. The prevailing rock is sandstone of various shades and compactness, with silicous phosphorus limestone. These specifications are generally exhibited to be detached and fragmentary form, but rarely in Shasta as disclosed upon the surface. Taken as a whole, the territory holds out many inducements to immigrants, and whatever brought into market will no doubt become speedily and thickly populated. Sounds fantastic, doesn't it? A lot of flies. Okay. September 30th. We are again under headway. A French engaged who had been suffering for several days passed from a severe attack of the fever and ague, experienced a sudden and novel cure. Unable to travel, quarters were prepared for him in one of our whiskey wagons, where he was comfortably disposed of as we continued our course. In passing a rough place, the wagon overset, when out came the invalid head foremost, and out came the whiskey barrels, showering full upon him. The suddenness of the fall, with the surprise and excitement of the occasion, one or both or all, or some other cause unknown, effected a complete cure. For certain it is he did not suffer another attack of the fever and ague during the whole journey, and the next day was able to discharge his duties as well as ever. On striking the Big Blue, the mountain road bears a northwest course to the head of the stream, from hence over an interval of highlands to the Platte River. The distance traveled up the Blue requires some 8 days for heavy wagons. Continuing on our way, about noon, we passed several Indian trails. In addition to 1, 10 or 12 or 15 miles back, these consist of a number of well-beaten parallel footpaths, bearing a northwest and southwest direction. They are formed by passing and repassing of the Ottos, the Iowas, and the Foxes, to and from their hunting grounds toward the headwaters of the Kansas. On the 3rd of October, we reached the Antelope Range and saw 4 or 5 of these animals scouring the boundless expanse or ascending some favorable eminence to graze upon us. Slight signs of buffalo also appeared, and everything seemed to indicate the approach to game country. Parting a short distance from the trail, Parting a short distance from the trail, a large sage rabbit bounded up before me, and the first of his species I ever saw. This animal is nearly 3 times the size of the common rabbit, and of a white color, slightly tinged with gray. It derives its name from being found particularly in countries abounding with um, brush or wild sage. In the regions adjacent to the mountains, these animals occur more frequently, and even among the mountains where their tails and ears are tipped with jetty black, their fur is soft and fine, equaling, if not surpassing, that of the Russian rabbit. Their flesh is also of a superior flavor, as it have had opportunities of testing. Towards night, the 3 antelope appeared near the trail. Our hunter made an successful attempt to approach them, which afforded me a first linking of the nature and character of these animals, or the inking. So he must have been drawing pictures. The antelope of the Grand Prairie differ but little in size and shape from the common sheep, and is coated with long bristled hair and a ruddy brown color, except at the tail and head, where it is short and white. The female is hornless, except an occasion blunt cornerous excrescence, some 2 or 3 inches long, protruding from the head. The male, however, is equipped with hook-shaped antlers, ebony-colored, and 6 or 8 inches in length, which he sheds annually in the months of November and December. This is the fleetest inhabitant of the prairies. No horse can compete with its speed. Quick of sight, keen of scent, and acute of ear, it seems even on alert at the approach or of real or supposed danger. Now swiftly advancing towards the object of its alarm or curiosity, then circling before you with the fleetness of the storm wind to mount some eminence far away beyond the reach and gaze in security. Then again, ere you have time to catch breath or admiration, it repeats its self gyration from an opposite direction, still nearer and swifter till past, as if indeed borne on the wings of lightning, and yet again surveys you in the distance. Now, running from point to point, it examines you upon all sides, as if cautiously passes around. Then, snuffing the breeze, it again calls to the aid and fleetness of limb, and with the velocity of thought, it all lost to view in the vast expanse. Possessed of an ordinary share of inquisitiveness, it is now not frequently falls a victim to its own curiosity. The hunter, turbulent, with red-handed handkerchief, and a half concealed behind some object, first raising pressing its head, then withdrawing it entirely from view, then again disclosing it to the curious animal. It is almost certain to allure his game with a gunshot. I have seen numbers killed in the summer, or this manner. In the spring season, they appear more sensitive than any other time, and are easily lured to their fate. With an exhibition of this strange prosperity, I have time and again been minded of its more fully developed moral prototype in man. However, frequently do we see persons around us who indulge their appetites and passions as often for mere curiosities as fancied pleasure, venturing nearer and still nearer towards the objects that command their attention and lure them into the vortex of ruin, till, with sure and deadly aim, the shafts of temper pierce the wanting vitals of morality and plunge the victims headlong into yawning abyss, when they are lost to themselves, to society, and to the world, lost forever. Here, then, is furnished for us moral. Beware how you indulge a vain curiosity that lures to evil. Never parley with the temptations. These animals are found from the Big Blue to the mountains in Oregon, California, Santa Fe, and Northwest Texas. Their flesh is tender and sweet, quite equal to venison, though seldom fat, owing, as it's supposed, to their most incandescent mobility. Near our camp, I noticed fresh beaver cuttings, some of which consisted of trees 6 inches in diameter, leveled by these sagacious animals. The vicinity disclosed frequent boulders of red and dark fruitions, sandstone, in which a soil somewhat renerose, reclining upon a chargeable deposit of sand and gravel, succeeded by a substrain of partly colored and friable sandstone. The valley of the Blue is bordered by hills of graceful slope, both green and beautiful. I here remarked for the first time the appearance of cacti, which becomes quite common and proves the pest of many places adjacent to the mountains. And then they are in the mountains. The Blue is deep, narrow stream with a swift current over a bed of gravel and pebbles, and is fringed by groves of oak and cottonwood and willow. Its valley is between 1 and 2 miles in width, with a surface of variable fertility, but generally consisting of good arable land. This section of country is considered very dangerous in the summer and fall months on account of the strolling bands of Pawnees which infest it. The voyager who holds the latter in great dread unless the chances to be accompanied by of sufficient force to bid defiance to their approach. A party numerically weak and indifferently armed meets the rough treatment at their hands, while on the open prairies persons and property are rarely respected, and the unfortunate traveler is not plundered, but often whipped or murdered without mercy. This, however, may not be said of all. It is only the young warriors, when beyond the restraint of their chiefs and seniors, who penetrate such outrages throughout to their paradise. Be said, instances of kind are quite seldom at present compared with former years. The courage of these Indians is held in little repute by mountaineers, and is that this opinion is not unfounded, the following incident will prove. It was related to me by an actor in the scene. Well, here comes the Indians, boys. Be ready. A small party of white on their cruise down the Platte with a cargo of furs lay by to meet near the forks of that stream. Buffalo being at some distance from the camp, our adventurers were compelled to perform the duties of pack horses in conveying the process of their hunting excursions. One day, 4 of them left for the object, and having proceeded some 6 or 8 miles, a war party of Pawnees suddenly emerged from the behind an eminence, just directly frontlining them. Alarmed at the unwelcome apparition, and imagining the whole country to be alive with Indians, they immediately ran and were pursued towards camp. One of the number, a big, lazy fellow, and rather green, withal, soon became tired and sung out to his companions, let's not run so fast. Blast me if I can't keep up. Come on, cried they. 1,000 shaved heads are upon us. Half a dozen half frozen for hair. Whew. I'll bet $5 there ain't any 30. Done. But who'll count the bloody varmints? Why, I'll do it just for my own satisfaction. So saying, he wielded and advanced towards the Pawnee as his wandering companions halted a little distance off to learn the result of his fool daring. Surprised at this strange movement, the enemy also came to a standstill, so affording a fine opportunity to ascertain their number, which only amounted to 19. "I've won," exclaimed our hero. "Let's charge and give 'em the very devil." The word went for command, and the 4 hunters dashed boldly towards the terrified savages, who in turn fled with greater velocity than they have called in exercise at any time during their advance, illustrating the truth of the saying, "The tyrants are always cowards." Legs proved quite convenient articles for the Pawnee braves, and they were out of sight in a few minutes, and were very grateful not to stop until they had their pursuers far in the rear. A Pawnee with a defenseless enemy in his power, like some examples upon the whites, is unraveling in courage and daring. But where there is resistance offered and fighting to be done, he, as well as his Irishmen's chickens, comes up missing. He is always bravest when farthest from danger. We were careful to observe the strictest vigilance at night to prevent the loss of horses from lurking bands of Indians. The animals of the caravan were uniformly picketed in compact order, and sentinels posted at suitable distances continued to pace their rounds from dark till daylight, while each of the company slept by his arms in readiness at any moment to repel an attack. Having traveled for 7 successive days, we made camp late in the afternoon at the head of the right fork of Blue. Wow, what an Indian story that was. During the day, we had noticed a dense smoke from distance on the rear, but with the wind in the opposite direction, no uneasiness was felt on that account. The sentries were soon at their post, and everything was snugly disposed of for the night. Those not on duty improved the opportunity to gain respite for the fatigues of the day, and the brief interval were snoring away at the admirable rate. The polar star, by its pointers, had just told the hour of the midnight when these hurried words rang through the camp. "Lava ho, lava! Prairie's on fire! Quick, catch up, catch up!" This startlingly announcement instantly brought every man to his feet, and such a scene as not now met the eye. How awful and how grand! The wind new charged and freshened to the right and rear. We was tossed the flames towards us rapidly. Wow, big fire. The wind new charge and freshened. The flames towards us rapidly, lighting the heavens with their third glare and transforming the darkness of night into more than a noonday splendor. Here was indeed an ocean of flame, far as the eye could reach, dancing with fiery wavelets in the wind, or rolling its burning surges in mad fury, eager to lick up every vestige of vegetation or semblance of combustible that appeared in its way, now shooting its glowing missiles far, far ahead, like meteors outward the sky, or towering aloft from the weeds, the tall grass, describing most hideous and fantastic forms that, moving with the wind, more resembled a coalition of demons among their native flames that aught terrestrial then driving whole sheets of the raging elements into the withered herbage in front like the advanced scouts of an invading army, swept onward, its desolating course leaving in its tracks naught save a blackened waste of smoking ruins. Although it was a sublime spectacle, a stupendous scene, grand and imposing beyond description, and terrible in its beauty, commingling with sensations of wonderful admiration, it tended to impress the beholder with feelings of painful melancholy. The broad expanse, but a few moments since arrayed in all the morning grandeur of fading autumn, was now a naked desert, and every vestige of lovingness in the instant snatched from view. How sudden, how awful, how marked the charge, and yet how magnificent in its career, though doubtful its sequel. We were speedily underway with as much eagerness of advance as that of a righteous Lot in his escape from the burning Sodom. For a while, the pursuing enemy kept even pace and threatened to overtake us till, headed by the strong wind, which meanwhile had changed its course, it began to slacken its speed and abate its greediness. About sunrise, we crossed the regular Pawnee trails leading to and from their hunting grounds, which bore the appearance of being much frequented, and at 10 o'clock a.m. reached the Platte River, having traveled a distance of 30 miles without halting. The mountain road strikes the above stream at latitude 4106 north and longitude 991747 west from Greenwich, some 20 miles below the head of Grand Island. This island is densely wooded and broad and extends for 50 or 60 miles in length. The river banks are very sparsely timbered, a deficiency we had occasion to remark during the remainder of our journey. The valley of the Platte at this place is 6 or 7 miles wide, and the river itself between 1 and 2 miles from the bank. Its waters are very shallow and are scattered over their broad bed in almost innumerable channels, nearly obscured by the naked sandbars, and bequeaths its entire course through the grand paradise or prairie. It's particularly in this respect gave birth to the name of the Platte, shallow, meaning shallow, which it received from the French, and the charret or charlet surface from the Mexicans. The Indians, according to Washington Irving, called it Nebraska, a term synonymous with that of the French and Americans. However, I am ignorant in reference to that latter. So that's where Nebraska came from, people. Nebraska. Okay. And we are going to stop right there for tonight. That is giving us a half hour. And move my marker from wherever we started to there. And we'll call it good. But I hope you all enjoyed that. It was a good little bit out of that book. Yeah. Hope you enjoyed all that. It was a lot of fun doing it. I hope you got something out of that. I sure did. The burning of the prairies, fire, and how intense it was. Can you imagine seeing fire coming miles and miles away and going, holy crap, we got no way to get out of it. We're going to all die. We're going to burn to death. And then watch it coming and then rushing for your life for 30 miles without stopping in the middle of the night just to get away from the fire. Wow. Unbelievable. But hey, they did it. Those people were tough. Load up and go. It's midnight. You better be awake and you better be rested. So with that, remember everybody, go out and be the frequency you want to receive. Love you all. Peace, everybody.